they let me close it in a short sale. Normally it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 months, 8 months or a year longer to close a deal. I got it done in 30 days. And I received my first paycheck, $10,000 plus.
Wow.
On a short sale.
You were like, what?
So I had the seller move out and the buyers move in that same day.
Yeah, wow.
That never happened.
That's incredible.
That's how my career got started.
Welcome to Love, Listings, and Legacy, where love, community, and building a lasting impact meet. We're Mony and Sophie, a husband and wife real estate team, sharing our perspectives on life, real estate, and philanthropy. Our stories are all about resilience and service. Join us each week as we share our journey of life, business, and giving back, all while building a legacy for our family and community. This is Love, Listings, and Legacy, where hearts, homes, and philanthropy come together. Let's get started. All right. So, hey, honey, how's your day going?
Good.
Good. Okay. Real estate market's doing good?
It's okay.
Okay.
It could be better, but it definitely could be better.
Okay. Any fires you got to put out today?
No.
Okay.
So far, so good. I got a few phone calls to make and follow up with folks, and I got a couple appointments today. And looking forward to meeting a new buyers coming from San Ramon and kind of go from there.
So all is well. So, speaking of real estate, I know that obviously you've been in the game for a while, and I'm just a newbie. 18 years?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So Mony Not Real Estate is an adult?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Young adult.
It is a young adult. So well, maybe you want to start off with maybe sharing with the audience for those of us who don't know, like, how did you go from being a Livermore police officer to being a Livermore real estate agent? Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to where my life is now. It's been 18 years in it. But I started in 2007, and I started part-time.
How timely.
I got into it by accident, actually. And in 2007, for those of you that have been around, it was crazy difficult at the time. We were going through the second worst economic time in American history.
Yeah, next to the Great Depression.
And next to the Great Depression. So that was kind of crazy, but it just happened in January 2007. I was a police officer full-time. I was working nights at the time. And I remember getting off a shift one morning, and I went to the back lot, and I was ready to go home. And I pressed the button to release the latch to get my rifle out of the center seat of my police car. And sure enough, I can't move. I can't. My back got locked up. I had a major spasm in my back,
wow.
But from sitting all night long, just because it was so cold in the middle of winter, and you don't get out of the car much, throughout the night when that's the case, unless you have calls and whatnot for service. But for the most part, when it's cold, sometimes it's quiet out there, so you just sit there. So your back is messing up. So it locked me up. I couldn't get out. So I had to literally call on the phone and had dispatch a few officers to the back parking lot, and they had to call an ambulance. They literally, police officer picked me up and put me in the back of an ambulance.
That's
and
crazy.
Sure enough, I was on my way to the hospital. I ended up there for a few hours. They gave me some shot to relieve my muscle, and I was able to come home. But I had to be on medication for a few days, and I couldn't go back to work. And I remember laying in my bed. This is my 12th year in a job. And I go, oh my gosh, I couldn't retire until I'm 50. So I got about, 17, 18 years left. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? There's no way my body will last, because you wear the 20-pound belt with the vest, with the gun, with the badge, with the batons.
You mean all the gear?
All the gears that you have to wear. And it's, sometimes it's 12, sometimes 15 hours, sometimes 20 hours a day. It just depends how long you have to work. And sometimes you're forced to work in overtime. And, you deal with this day in and out. It's not good for your body. So I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, just so happened about 6 months before, I was next door to our office right now at Panama Red Coffee. And I had a call there, and I met, as a result, at the coffee shop, I met a couple of realtors, one of the realtors locally. And she said, you know what, I hung out with them after I was, got out of home, and after, off the medication, I came and hung out with them. And they said, Mony, you like people, you like real estate. Why don't you get your real estate license? I'm like, wow. I said, that sounds amazing. So sure enough, I looked into it. They told me what I need to do. 4.5 months later, I got my real estate license.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that was in April. From January to April, literally 4 months later, I got my real estate license. And 3.5 months later, I got my first listing. It's a short sale. And it's in Livermore, 990 Del Norte Drive in Livermore.
Wow, that was your first transaction.
3 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,307 square feet, price of $330,000. Now it's just $700,000, right? But that was 2007. And it was a mother of one of the students that was in my DARE program that called me, say, hey, I know you got your real estate license. Would you like to help my family or my friend here with this mess of a loan that they got? And they want to sell their house. And at the time, with short sale, it was a completely different market. You have to call, you have to fax them, and you have to learn how to put all your loan number on all of the documents. You got to fax them every day. Like, I literally called them and faxed them every day. They got tired of me. They let me close it in a short sale. Normally, it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 months, 8 months or a year longer to close a deal. I got it done in 30 days. And I received my first paycheck, $10,000 plus.
Wow.
On a short sale.
You were like, what?
So I had the seller move out and the buyers move in that same day.
Yeah,
that never happened.
That's incredible.
That's how my career got started.
Well, I guess what blows my mind, thank you for sharing that. What an incredible transition from law enforcement to real estate, right? Yeah. I guess the one thing, first of all, that caught my attention was a fax machine. Some of our colleagues who are in real estate now probably don't even know what a fax machine is.
They know what e-fax, but they don't know what a fax machine is.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So for those of you who are new, fax machines were around. Yeah. It was like, and it made this like crazy loud sound, you know, like dial and like actually like feed papers through. Oh my gosh.
So
what an
fast
insane
forward,
time.
Right? Fast forward to us would be, 3.5 years ago? We literally met about 3.5 years ago. And we came together. We got married after 10 months of meeting each other. And husband and wife for 2.5 years now.
It was a 10-month escrow.
Yeah, it was 10 months escrow. It was a long escrow.
And then I was
actually, a pretty short escrow.
I was like, okay, fine.
But as a result of meeting me, and you came, you had a different job altogether at the time. So tell us a little bit about your journey into real estate. I think it'd be kind of interesting.
Well, I think for me, I always tell people I got married into real estate, and I married Mony, not money. But yeah, in all seriousness, though, I think I joined real estate because of you, and I really wanted to build something together.
What were you doing before? Tell us a little bit about your journey before that.
Well, I actually spent a lot of my career after getting my bachelor's. I spent it in corporate America. I started at Wells Fargo.
Wow.
In 2004.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, 20 years ago. It was my first job, and guess what I was doing?
Yeah. What were you doing?
Mortgages.
Oh, wow.
This is 2004. So remember how you talked about 2007?
Yeah.
So I started fresh out of college, got my bachelor's degree. I was, again, it was at San Francisco State University, and I actually majored in Asian American Studies. And I don't know how Wells Fargo hired me.
I was a police officer 9 years by that time, 2004.
Right? That's right. That's right. I was just like fresh out of college, and then I moved home to Stockton. It's funny. For all of you who are in college, you will find yourself at home, so be nice to your parents.
Boomerang, they call it.
I boomeranged home to Stockton, and then my parents are like, all right, well, you got student loans kicking in soon. What are you going to do? And then I just started applying, and sure enough, Wells Fargo hired me. And at the time, we were doing like 7% mortgages.
Wow.
And my buddy, Hang Chan.
Yeah. So that's high, right?
So Hang Chan.
And it's about the same rate now.
Well,
right?
But in 2004, 20 years ago, we were selling 7% mortgage rates, but it was like a deal. Yeah. Everybody was like, oh my God, let me like refi, let me cash out, let me, it was, it was easy. And as a 24-year-old, you're like, oh my gosh, and I think my salary was like $32,000 a year. And I'm like, woo, right? Yeah. But that's how I started my career in corporate. And I stayed at Wells Fargo until the economic crisis. And of course, then, that was a really tough time in the world, actually. And so from Wells Fargo, I actually got recruited into biopharmaceuticals. I was in biotech.
Wow.
I was in Emeryville. I was at Novartis Novartis Pharmaceuticals.
So I married a smart one. Okay.
Well, I don't know about smart, but I mean, I knew how to keep a job.
Never mind the smart side.
I don't know. I think I just knew how to like survive and keep a job. So for me, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I had to be fixated on a career path.
Yeah.
So I think for me, for you, honey, you went from law enforcement to real estate. For me, I think in my 20s, I allowed myself to explore different career paths. And so I did spend a number of years in biotech and pharmaceuticals. And there I learned about FDA regulations. I learned about good manufacturing practices with pharmaceuticals. I learned how to write very detailed quality assurance reports, because if there is like a defective lot of medicine, these little glass vials, you can't put that out. You cannot put that in patients. There could be some
huge consequences.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so I actually spent my time in quality assurance. And I think that's where I learned my attention to detail. You cannot be any more detailed than people working in quality assurance. I had to write these reports that would eventually get submitted to the FDA.
Did you vet me out?
I should have probably more. I was like, oh, is this guy Mony or Mony? But anyway, and then after that, I ended up at BioMarin Pharmaceutical, and that was where I actually learned commercial operations, which is sales, marketing, patient services. So I learned everything that comes with after a drug gets approved by the FDA. Now, how do you take it to market? Right. That was my first taste of sales, of corporate, of traveling, and I really just absolutely loved it. And then to the point where, like in 2010, I wanted to go back to graduate school. So I ended up going back to graduate school, and then I ended up getting hired on at Salesforce because I was a Salesforce customer. Mm-hmm. And so Salesforce was my kind of next big corporate gig, if you will. And so that was like 2010, 2011 or so. And so I had this like amazing role at Salesforce, global revenue operations, and I just soaked everything up as a sponge. And you know what they say when you're in corporate, you're basically you're a small fish in a really big ocean. But what I did was I allowed myself to say yes to different projects. Mm-hmm. I allowed myself to say yes to different opportunities. And so there I went from, training account executives on Salesforce operations, on just things that weren't necessarily exciting for a salesperson, but they needed to know it in order to be successful. Absolutely. So really, honey, I really got my foot in the door in operations. And then I eventually started doing a lot of sales training. And that's why people oftentimes now they say like, oh, you look like you're so comfortable speaking and training. And that's because I really got pushed into the fire.
Yeah. And then, I mean, again, I kind of go back to looking at both of our journeys of life is about trying different things. Mm-hmm. And then all that leads to that journey, that funnel that allow you to be where you are today. So you went from Salesforce, and I understand you also end up all the way to Singapore and Cambodia. Tell us a little bit about that experience, and then then before you came back to America and how we met.
Yeah, absolutely, honey. Thank you. Yeah, I spent 5 years in global revenue operations, and it was an amazing experience. And then shortly after I earned my graduate degrees, so basically I was working at Salesforce full time, and I was actually sneaking off in the evenings and weekends to basically get my MBA and a master's in Asia Pacific Studies. I was in my 30s, early 30s. I just turned 30, and I was like, well, I'm not married. I don't have a mortgage. But at the time, no, really. But, a lot of those factors, for me personally, I was like, I don't need to invest in anybody. I don't need to invest in anything right now but myself. And so, Warren Buffett, the great Warren Buffett always said, if you invest in something, invest in yourself, right? And so that's what I did. Absolutely. I went back to school, and I was able at the time to get a tuition reimbursement from Salesforce. I got I think at the time it was like $5,000 a year. I went to USF. Right there in the courtyard, I would literally get out of work, leave my desk at like 5:15, cut through the courtyard, and the USF School of Management was like on Spear and Howard. And I walked through the corner, and I made it to class by like 6 o'clock, 6:15. Amazing. And I did night, I did my MBA, at night. And then I thought, oh, well, if I'm already getting my MBA, why not as well just get another master's? So I did a dual program. And then 2016, I had a wonderful opportunity to move to Singapore.
What's the dual program in Asia Pacific Studies, right?
Yeah. So basically it was a dual master's program at USF, and it was being specifically offered.
That degree in itself, if you didn't do that, I don't think your boss would have said, hey, she got this, experience. And that's why I think that's part of the journey that led you to Singapore and
it
Cambodia.
Helped. Yeah. I think it helped. I I think when you're going to a region of the world, it helped to bring me credibility, I would say.
Absolutely.
I think if I didn't have the background, I think I would have been able to do, the job okay.
Yeah.
But I think having the academic background
Yeah.
in the Asia Pacific region, understanding the different cultures and
Yeah.
understanding history and socio-political economics and philosophies and religion, I think it really helped. But to your point, I moved to Singapore in 2016, and there I managed the Asia Pacific region's global strategic partners, consulting partners. It was part of the alliances and channels. And so it's basically just a fancy way of like saying you basically manage the partners, right? So as you know, when you're selling, you have a direct channel, which is the salesperson to the customer, or you have an indirect channel. So basically what I managed was the indirect channel strategy. So basically selling Salesforce technology, but through local partners in each country.
Wow.
And I managed the Asia Pacific region with the exception of Japan.
Yeah.
Because
so
I didn't
got to
speak
travel
Japanese.
all over the region.
I did, it was part of my job.
Briefly tell us a little bit about your experience with that. What was that all about? What was that like for you?
What was that like? I think for me, it was just the most incredible experience. And so I always share now that if you ever have an opportunity to work, study abroad, do business abroad, do it. Because that experience was, I'm telling you, honey, it was so instrumental in growing me, not just professionally, but also like personally.
Yeah.
Because I got to experience like being a foreigner in different countries.
Yes.
I got the experience of like being a woman and sitting at a table with a lot of men, right?
Wow.
In a lot of these cultures, in a lot of the countries, a lot of these markets I was in,
Yeah.
I was oftentimes the only woman at the table.
That's crazy.
And then thirdly, I got
Thank
to
God
make...
you're an American. That helped.
Well,
some
I don't
ways.
know if it was a good thing, but sometimes being an American was good.
Yeah.
But at other times, being an American, it actually was a safety a safety risk. And then I think the final comment I wanted to make on that was that it helped me build a lot of friendships because when you're living abroad, you have to make a new community. You have to make new friends. And so it allowed me to get out of my shell and it allowed me to learn how to network and also get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, well, perfect. I think that's a lot of a collective experience that you took. I think that's wonderful. And I think that's going to obviously help you in real estate so much as well. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. We met, got married, and I tried to get you into real estate.
Kicking and
screaming, still kicking and screaming a little bit. But just continue to encourage you to get out because there's actually more than just the buying, selling part. There's a lot of relationships, something you're really, really good at. So tell us your experience a little bit about that. In your involvement or getting into real estate?
Well, I think first of all, I think you said it correctly. Before you get into anything, you actually have to do the work. You have to be in the trenches, like grind it out. And I think getting my license to like supporting you on the operation side and seeing the behind the scenes, I think with you and basically just shadowing you and being a sponge and even just the way that you talk about certain real estate terminology or the way you negotiate certain deals or how you handle inspections, honey, I just want to say thank you because it was like an internship. It was an internship and I think, I got to learn from one of the best and, I truly am grateful for that. And yes, I know there were times where I am very resistant and I think a lot of it has to do with just my sense of like, I don't want to lose my identity and I don't want to she's doing real estate because her husband's in it. And I think that's a perception that I had to just get over. But I'm really excited that now I'm embracing it fully more. So taking on more leadership roles in the industry. And so I'm really excited to be joining the Women's Council of Realtors of Alameda County with helping being the events director. And again, it is a volunteer position, but I feel really passionate about it because I really want to help women and men, obviously, in our industry up level. And I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's time for me to not be so resistant and
I think it's
go
good.
all in.
I'm so thankful that you're open-minded and you also take the challenge to say, look, what else is real estate buying, selling is kind of boring, but what else is there? There's other leadership roles, possibilities for you with the Women Council Realtor realtors of Alameda. I think that's going to be good. And then, we're going to a conference soon on real estate. And to see the family from all over the nation come together, especially the Asian American real estate coming together, I think you're going to see a bigger picture. And you've gone to a couple of those with me already, but now you're going to begin to see the relationship comes into play and how it all plays into the business. I think it's wonderful that
I think
you're
so.
open to that.
I think stepping out, and I think that's where my corporate background, always being at conferences, always being at meetings and events and stuff. And I think that was just probably that aspect of the day-to-day real estate that I really missed, to be honest. Because, you get bogged down with like disclosures and transactions and like checking on like, oh, did the EMD come through? Or like, working with title companies and, checking on loan approvals. It is the day-to-day, but I will have to say though, that if I didn't have the background and I think rolling up your sleeves, and you know how you say like if you want to know how to make like a really good cake, you got to get your ass in the kitchen and like bake it. I think that's what I was able to do with your help.
But the thing about it, what I love part of my real estate is that it's not the real estate itself is amazing, but I look at all the different industries that we impact, from inspectors, title companies to the transportation, to the moving, to the hauling companies. It just, when you think about it, we actually employ a lot of people. It's an amazing business, and the relationship and all the people we met and all the travel we got to do, and not to have to answer rather than just a client, but really you are your own boss. You have to learn how to be much more disciplined than ever, because you could be at an event, next thing you know, 3-4 hours goes by and you go, what did I do? But you have to be very, very mindful. Is that going to be, are you going to be making money? Because you got to make some money in order to pay your bills, right? So you have to really think about what you're doing every day. Is that, are you impactful in the community as well? What do you do with that money in order to make it better, right? To give more, to be more, to do more. And that's really, really important to think about. And is your time worth it when you do a lot of things? So I think I'm starting to see that in you. I think that I'm very proud of you for doing that.
Thank you, honey.
Into the leadership role. So, great.
Well, oh my gosh, wow. What a journey from being in law enforcement to real estate, and then for me going from corporate to real estate. I'm super excited to probably share a little bit more, deeper dive in our next future episodes. We'll probably have a lot more to share.
Well,
but
thank you for sharing your journey as well, from from your school to your Salesforce experience in America, all the way to Singapore to Cambodia. I think that's wonderful. And then taking a collection of all the sales experiences and all the experience of life that you've had into real estate, and that's now you begin to see how the relationship is formed and our form, and that how it all comes together to make sure that we serve the community. That's just another way to serve the community. I think that's wonderful. So I'm honored that you're part of this, and I'm honored to have you as a partner, not only in real estate but in life, and that we get to do this together. Now that when we do more, we also want to give more. We also want to be more. I think that's really, really important. That's what this journey is all about.
Great. All right. Well, thank you to our listeners. Thanks for joining Mony and I, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we look forward to welcoming you at the next one. Thank you.
Yep. And we look forward to just sharing, deep dive into more about real estate in so many different ways. What we like, what we don't like about it, how to buy, how to sell, how to
share,
flip homes, how to transform your home, how to get top dollar. Just so many aspects that could be in contracts, of a real estate contract. There's just so many things that we could talk about in real estate. But I look forward to that next time.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining Love, Listings, and Legacy this week. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Join us next time as we continue to navigate the path from adversity to success, one property and one purpose-driven decision at a time. Thank you for listening.